The voice inside the wall. While renovating an old apartment, Lucas kept hearing whispers coming from the bedroom wall. At first, he thought it was just old pipes. Until one night, the voice whispered his name. Terrified, he smashed the wall, open with a hammer. Inside was a small, hollow cavity, and in it, a dusty vintage tape recorder. He pressed play. The tape echoed the exact same whispers he had heard for nights. But this time, at the very end, it said something. Lucas turned around, heart racing. The room was completely empty, or almost. On the wall behind him, a new crack began to open, and the recorder, still playing, started to repeat, "I'm right behind you."
The mirror that never reflects you. In a dusty thrift store, Clara bought an old mirror. Its golden frame cracked, its glass faded with time, but whenever she looked into it, her reflection didn't follow her movements. One night, the reflection smiled on its own. Terrified, Clara covered the mirror with a bedsheet. The next morning, she woke up. The sheet was on the floor. The mirror showed her bedroom, completely empty. But Clara was still there. Panicking, she waved her hands. The reflection didn't move. Instead, it slowly turned and walked away. From that day on, no one could see Clara. But sometimes, when the room is quiet, the mirror shows a girl trapped behind the glass, forever watching, forever waiting, and to switch places again.
When the doll blinks. Davi got an old doll from his grandfather. A strange, hand-carved thing with button eyes and a stitched mouth. It looked harmless. At first, then he noticed something weird in his photos. The doll's eyes were blinking. Never in real life, only in the pictures. He thought it was just his phone acting up, until one night he woke to the sound of tiny footsteps, pattering across the floor. He turned on the light. The doll was no longer on the shelf. It was in the hallway, standing, facing him, its eyes wide open, and smiling. A wide, crooked smile that hadn't been stitched there before. Frozen in fear, Davy stared. The doll tilted its head. Then darkness. The lights went out. In the morning, his parents found only a photo on the floor. Davy was in the picture, blinking, and the doll wasn't alone anymore.
The house where time moves backwards. Alina rented a secluded house to finish her book. Total silence, except for the clocks, all of them, ticking backwards. She thought it was a glitch, but as days pass, something changed. She felt lighter, younger, and some memories were vanishing. That's when she found an old diary hidden beneath a loose floorboard. It was hers. On the final page, a sentence in her own handwriting. If you're reading this, you may already be a child again. Her heart raced before she could react. There was a knock at the door. An older woman, with strangely familiar eyes, stood there smiling through tears. "I'm your daughter,"
whispers behind the door. During the demolition of a long-abandoned orphanage, workers uncovered a rusted iron door, bolted from the inside. Muffled cries seemed to hum through the crumbling bricks. Inside was a tiny room. Iron bed, porcelain, doll with faded eyes and scratch marks, hundreds, clawing at the walls. A corroded cassette played endlessly in a child's trembling whisper. "I promise to be good. Please let me out." The orphanage had shut down 30 years ago. No records mentioned a child, but on the dusty mirror, fresh handwriting quivered. "Thank you for finally finding me, Daddy." And for the first time, the engineer recognized the voice on the tape. It was his daughter's, the one he never had.
The Call from the Grave. The dragging ring of an old phone echoed through the midnight air, like time itself had snapped backward. David, pale in the phone's cold blue glow, saw the name. Mom. She'd been buried 3 days ago. He answered. On the line, something wet. Breathing. No, earth. Then a whisper. Son, do not go into the room tonight. The call dropped. No signal. No call history. Gripped by a dread older than logic, David fled to a roadside motel. The night crawled by, heavy with silence. At dawn, sirens tore the sky. His building was engulfed in flames. The fire had started, they claimed, in his room. But that wasn't the strangest part. Forensics found the phone line had been cut for weeks. The SIM card? Cremated with the body. Inside the room, claw marks scratched the inside of the locked door, and on the scorched wall, written in something dark and dry, it read, "She wasn't the only one who died that day."
Sleeping with the invisible enemy. Camilla started waking up with scratches on her legs. She thought it was the cat, but he always slept locked outside the room. One night she poured flour on the floor, just to be sure. By morning, footprints. Human, leading out from under the bed. So she set up a camera, hit record, went to sleep. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the air grew heavy. Time hesitated. The blanket lifted, slowly, as if something was crawling in beside her. No face, no form, but it breathed. She shivered, but the real horror came later, when she paused the video and saw herself already lying in bed, unmoving, eyes wide open, staring straight into the lens.
The entity on the top floor. They said the building would be demolished by sunrise. The caretaker warned, never go to the top floor. Of course, the vloggers went anyway. As they stepped out of the elevator, the air thickened, hot, stale. Their breaths echoed like whispers in a tomb. The camera flickered. Static bled through the screen. And then, briefly in the corrupted frames, something watched them. A shape. Faceless, motionless, waiting. When they finally fled back down, the elevator had returned by itself. One of them was inside. Still, silent. Eyes open, but vacant. He remembered nothing. Not the climb, not the descent, but in the footage. He was speaking, calmly, to something no one else could see. And just before the video cuts, he smiles, but not with his mouth.
The girl in the television. Ethan thought he was just tired. Late nights, long hours. Stress can play tricks. But the reflection of a little girl in his turned-off TV didn't fade, even when the lights were out, even when he unplugged it. She was always there, watching. Then one night, she waved, so he filmed it, sent it to a friend. The reply came quickly, coldly. "That's Lily. She lived there before you. Died 10 years ago, alone, in front of that TV." In the footage, the girl's lips moved. Ethan leaned in. Soft static, a child's whisper. "Now I can play with you too." Beat of silence. Then, TV clicks on by itself. He stares at the screen and sees his own body sitting perfectly still, but he isn't inside it anymore.
The smile in the dark. During the blackout, Anna woke to a sound. Wet, deliberate chewing, too close. She dared not breathe. Slowly, she dimmed her phone screen, praying the silence would swallow her. Then, a faint click. The charger reconnected, by itself. The screen lit up, for a blink. Just enough. In the mirror, teeth. Rows of them stretching impossibly wide, curling into a grin too large for any human face. Then, darkness. Her heartbeat echoed like footsteps, but not hers. When the lights returned, the ceiling bore footprints, upside down. On the wall, smeared in something dark, A note. You smiled at me. Now we're friends. Anna never remembered smiling, but the thing behind her did. And as her reflection blinked independently from her, she realized. She never woke up, but he isn't inside it anymore.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like and share your suggestions for future videos in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you next time.